Oh, come on. You need to dream. Father, give them your dream for their bloodline and their family tree. Lord, I pray for a dream that would scare them, that would shake them, and that would mark them. And some of you had that, and all hell beat against you. Some of you had that, and you thought it was going to happen in a year or two, and now it's been 10 and 20 and 30 years. And you can't help but have hope deferred. You can't help to be crushed. Come on. I mean, I know I'm speaking to some people. And so I believe there's moments where we give up. It says, I just have to go with the flow. It says that Abraham, against all hope, in hope he believed. He believed in the God that calls the things that are not as though they're created to be. And the Lord said, tell my people in this year of 3 that I'm going to put a word of how it's supposed to be in their mouth. But they got to allow me to redeem their words. And if they allow me, tell them they can no longer just speak by what they see with their natural eye. And I went through a season, I didn't realize how bad my words were. I knew I complained, I knew I murmured, but I didn't realize how much I murmured until I took a 10-day focus to focus on my words. And I'm like, my words are more corrupt than I thought. And I'm like, Lord, Holy Spirit, help that, because life and death are in the power of the tongue. And you'll eat the fruit of what you speak. See, what I'm walking in is what I spoke in the past season. What? Oh, come on. Someone help me out here. And so what I'm walking in is what I spoke in the past season. So, one, we either have spoken rightly and righteously, or we need to pray for some crop failure. And God, He's a merciful God. He's merciful. He's good. But listen, we need to come in agreement with what He said. I say it all the time, but I can't but help say it, because we're in this season. Whenever we're in transition, and the whole earth is in transition, it's not going to get easier. It's going to get more difficult every day. Get over that. It's not getting any easier. But you're going to be hotter than the fire around you, like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They had a flame in them that were hotter than the flame around them. And I'm telling you, in a season of gross darkness, the greatest light is going to arise and shine. He's going to unlock a light in you that you didn't even know was in you. Come on. And we can no longer allow what we see with our natural eye to define our future. We must speak by the eye of God. And that's what Joshua and Caleb did. They spoke by the eye of God. What do I mean by the eye of God? They saw what God said, and they simply said what God said. And you could say they were denying the facts, because the facts was there was giants. The facts was there was fortified cities, and cities that had mighty men of valor and weapons of war. The facts was there was these Nephilim giants that in the land, and they were like grasshoppers in their sight. This was a factual report, and God called it evil. Oh, come on. So could everything that Ed Watts is saying be evil, even though it's factual? You better believe it. And so we can't come in this season, and there's times where it's more weighty than others. That there's times of transition where it's weightier what you say. It's weightier how you move. Because we as the body of Christ sometimes don't understand times of transition. And my personal belief, and I'll show you from the scripture, we're in the greatest transition of human history. We are at the door of the return of the Lord, but he's coming for something. There's going to be a glorious and a radiant bride. There's going to be a body that comes to the full stature of his image. He's seated at the right hand of the Father, Psalm 110, until his enemies and the second heavens are made a footstool for his feet. That, listen, there's some things that are going to happen whether you believe it or not. And I'm telling you, it's gross darkness, demonic darkness is coming on the earth, and you must arise and shine, because those voices are not going to leave you alone until you tell them to shut up and you begin to give yourself unto the Lord as a whole burnt offering. Come on, let my life be a living sacrifice, that I've been crucified with Christ, and it's no longer I who lives, but it's Christ living and manifesting his life through me. Listen, we're in an all-in season, and nothing else will work. Other seasons, it seemed to work. It didn't work anyway. But we're in a season you're not going to get by. And listen, the only way, and I'm telling you, that's when the adventure happens, when you're all in and you're not living for the comforts of this age. You're not living for a retirement. You're not living for anything the earth has to offer. You're living for the Father's kingdom to come and the will of the Father to be done. That's where miracles happen. That's where breakthrough comes. That's where the dream stream flows. But whenever we're looking for something this way instead of this way, it stops the flow. Whenever you look for horizontal justice, you stop the vertical justice. That's what we were talking about ahead of time. And whenever you look this way, it stops the flow this way. And so many times, the enemy gets us looking through this eye instead of looking through this eye. Caleb and Joshua, they thought they were out of their mind, but they were just simply saying what the Father said, and they were the only one that walked in the promise. Everyone else died in the wilderness. And this is a time that God has to open the eyes of our heart. Pray Ephesians 1:17 through 22 every day and say, God, give me a spirit of wisdom. Father, it's actually Father of glory. He's the Father of glory. Father, give me a spirit of wisdom and revelation in the knowledge of you. Nothing will shift this city. Nothing natural will shift this city. Nothing natural is going to shift your co-workers, but he can put one word in your mouth, because all their days are written in a scroll. Psalm 139, verse 16. He could put one word from their scroll in your mouth, and it will be like a sword of light that will cut them to the heart. And with a word, one word can shift the destiny. Come on. Well, one word, and we got to be people with the word of his mouth in our mouth. We have to be, listen, we have to be. Christianity is a supernatural person. Come on. Jesus Christ, we are the body of Christ. We must be supernatural. Come on. And what happens is we offer our natural, and he puts his super on it. He comes to weak vessels. My strength will be made perfect. That word literally means complete, mature in weakness. And it's not just about weakness, it's surrendered weakness. I refuse, I take all my pain, all my frustration, all my injustice. And it's easy to become a victim. It's easy to call your friends and have a party called pity. But listen, that will cause you to go to the grave early. I've done that. Listen, that will bring a death to destiny. That will stop the dream flow. That will stop the dialogue of heaven. I got a flow in this tonight. And the Lord's saying, take all that pain and all that and bring it before my throne and give me once again, and I will come. I am the God of justice, and I'll bring you justice. I'll bring you breakthrough. And I believe he's brought us here because he has a destiny for this land and the people of this land. And he starts with a few that hear his word and obey. He said, you've seen what man can build. Man can build big buildings, and he could have fancy lights and great sound. He can have big stages and have a lot of people in the building, but is that success, Ed? He said, you've seen what man can do. but you're about to see what I will do that with a few that hear my word and obey. I'll turn the world upside down once again. That I'm coming with a baptism of fire like a crown. I'm coming down with a fire crown, and I'm coronating my sons and daughters. Come on. This is a royal priesthood movement, a people that minister under my presence, and I send them from my presence into the culture and the world around them. Tell them they are the evangelism plan. They are the evangelism program. Come on. Oh, come on. You cannot make Sunday morning an evangelism program. If you do that, what you'll end up is keeping people in this inch-deep water, and that has stopped the flow in the American church. That you are the evangelism plan. We come, we gather, and we seek, we sing unto the Lord the glory due to his name. A priest's first duty is to minister unto the Lord. And as you minister unto the Lord, there's a divine exchange. And we do it in a corporate reality. This was never made for unbelievers to bring them to a building. You were made for unbelievers. And listen, this is the problem that the American, I go to China, they don't have a problem. Oh, come on. The Chinese that have come here, my friends from China, doesn't think we're saved. Most of the American church. And, you know, they're like, and I just shown you that video of my friends, we're praying. I mean, it's deafening. You tell them, we're going to worship, and they won't stop. They outdo the worship team. They're not looking for someone to lead them in a song. I mean, it's unfathomable. I'm like, I went there, and I'm like, am I even born again? You saw him on that video. Remember I did that Zoom call with China? And I mean, it's just like, and it's like, do we have a different Jesus, a different gospel, different spirit that Paul talked about? I'm serious. And but the Lord, listen, he loves us. He's not, he's not beating us down. We've been beaten down enough. He's saying, man, I got so much. Don't think I'm a limitless God with limitless glory, with limitless love. My love knows no boundaries, Ed. My love knows no boundaries. I'll love you out of your weakness. Now, I'm not preaching greasy grace or sloppy agape. I'm preaching the extravagant love of the Father. He loved me. He kissed me. I mean, I was a hardcore drug addict. I was an alcoholic. I mean, age 7 to age 24, drug addict, from a child a drug addict. Come on. I hung around with violent people. I've been in despicable places. I always say I went from Black Sabbath and AC/DC to Sandy Patty overnight, and it's true, I'm not exaggerating. In a moment, I went in a second, but it was the kiss. He kissed me, Song of Solomon. He kissed me with his presence, and something shifted in my life, and he wants to kiss you tonight with his presence. And I know that you've been kissed, but we need moments like these where he does it again, and he kisses us with his presence again. And so I guess I'm not going to speak what I was going to speak. I guess I'm going to speak the word of the Lord. And I believe that we're in a moment where the Lord is bringing a restoration movement. I had just, I spent 3 weeks in Israel. I went there to write a book, and I went there to prepare the way for a tour we're doing in April. But I really went there to die and be resurrected. I went there to allow a death blow. I'm like, Lord, I can't go into my future the way I am. I can't go into my future. I need a death and resurrection. And I believe the Lord met me there. And I know he did. And I don't have time to tell all the stories. And but I spent 2 weeks on the highest peak. I have a dear friend, her and her husband in 1989 made Aliyah. They're Jewish people, immigrated to Israel and have the coolest church on top of Mount Carmel. Talk about a cool place to have a church. And that's where we're going to gather in April. But I was able to, they have a facility that houses people. I was with Ukrainian immigrants in a building. I thought, this is cool. Come on. Those that were driven out of Ukraine and families living, all these families crammed into one little room. And I'm like, Lord, have mercy on me. Forgive me for complaining. Oh, come on. How good we have it. How, no matter how bad we think we have it. I always say we should send every high school graduate to a third world country and let them love America. They'll kiss the ground when they come back. I'm serious. No, I'm serious. They'll kiss the ground when they come back. And we have it good. But, you know, the Lord did a lot of things in my time there. I've already had been on the spirit of Elijah. I feel like when Roe v. Wade came down on June 24th this last year, that was a signpost. That was a marker to the nations of the earth. Now, the Catholic Church says it's the birthday of John the Baptist. And I don't believe that's true, but I believe it's true in the sense of God even did it on that day as a marker of a John the Baptist. You know, John the Baptist, Gabriel came and said to Zacharias in the temple that was offering incense and declared, even in your old age, Elizabeth was barren, that you'll have a child, and this one will go in the spirit and the power of Elijah. Oh, come on. That he will make a people prepared for the Lord. And remember when Jesus is coming off the Mount of Transfiguration, which is key. Always say location, location, location. Where something is said is important as what is said. Come on, that's proper exegesis of the biblical scriptures, and where it's said is as important of what is said and who it's said through. Come on. And the disciples were asking him, why do the scribes say Elijah must come first? And he says, he does come first. But Jesus put another sentence on it. He says, he does come first and he restores all things. Now, in the Jewish religion, if you want to say, and the Jewish hope, they call it tikkun olam, which means the restoration of all things, or the repair of the earth, or the repair of eternity. There's different ways they express that. But tikkun olam has been the hope, just like Simeon came up, and right when Jesus was being dedicated, and he came at that very moment led by the Holy Spirit, and he said, oh Lord, you have fulfilled your promise that I would see the consolation, the comfort of Israel. That's Isaiah 40. Comfort, comfort my people. And it's in the context of Elijah. And so, you know, here the Jewish people had a dream from all the prophetic promises of Isaiah and Ezekiel, and, you know, all the prophets prophesied of one that would come, a messianic deliverer that would crush the oppressors of God's people. And he came, but he wasn't consolation to many. He was actually disruption. Think about it. He wasn't much comfort to those that were eagerly seeking for him to come. He disrupted everything that they had taught about Messiah. he was an offense to them. And he was just being who he was. And he wasn't a comfort. If Simeon would have lived on, he might have been troubled by who this little baby had become. And guess what? History repeats itself. Oh, come on. History repeats itself. Whenever he comes in a package, many times that is not what we thought or taught. I say this all the time. I'm sincere, but I'm sincerely wrong about a lot of things. And if I knew I was wrong, I would change. But am I humble enough? Am I teachable? Can I receive instruction even from a child? Or am I a prophetic know-it-all? Because I've been used by God. And just because I've been used by God doesn't make all my doctrines and belief systems right. Just because I've prophesied dates, I prophesied that a tornado would come on June 13th, 2013 as a sign of a prophetic word, and it came on June 13th on 2013. I prophesied crazy stuff. People said, don't prophesy dates. Well, prophesy a date if the Lord gives you a date. But does that make all my theology correct? Absolutely not. I always say, all of our theology is wrong. Hopefully our hearts are right. And so everyone in this room, you have bad theology. You just don't know it. Now, if that makes you mad, then you got some stuff in you that you need to deal with. If you take pride in being right, maybe it's pride. And listen, we're all wrong. And we need to hold. Now, I'm a big believer in doctrine. Watch your life and your doctrine closely. I'm a big biblical basis, foundational person. I believe that nobody even reads our Bible anymore. I always say we need a revival in the Bible. My God. Study to show yourself approved, a workman of God that need not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Come on. That you need. Blessed is the man that does not sit in the seat of the scoffer, but his delight is the law of the Lord, wherein he meditates day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, whose leaf does not wither. Come on. Its root system goes deep into the river of God. I always say your greatest encounters are waiting in the book. Put your face in his book. And so I'm a big believer in the Bible. I'm a big believer in doctrine. But he's about to rock all our doctrine. And what will we do in that moment? He came in a package that disrupted all the systems. All the systems shook. And those that were desperate and hungry, those that were truly desperate and hungry, received something. And so I don't have time to share what I wanted to share, but I will try to wrap it up here. I totally forgot. We have, the only way we put bread on our table for our families is if you're willing to sow. So if you're willing to sow, I don't work another job. This is what I do. So if you're willing to sow into our times here, that would be greatly appreciated. If not, that's good. You could write it. I guess we're going to go to Zion Gate if you want to write a check or cash, whatever. There's a basket anytime. You could put it right here. That'd be greatly appreciated. But I will close this out here. But I want to bring us to a point that we understand how important the hour is. I believe when Roe v. Wade came down on John the Baptist's birthday, that it was a marker of the spirit of Elijah being released in the earth. I don't have time to tell all the stories. I have a bunch of crazy swirl. That's how I ended up on Mount Carmel. And, when I was there seeking the Lord, I ended up on my spiritual birthday in a house of prayer overlooking the Temple Mount. And my spiritual birthday's on December 12th, 1990. I got born again. I was there on 12/12 and doing a service with my dear friend. And I began to prophesy from Jerusalem and about the winds of the Spirit of Elijah blowing from that eternal gate of Jerusalem into the gates of the earth, that the wind was going to blow. And we know Elijah comes and restores all things. Jesus said it, red letters, but all things are not restored, correct? And just like there was, John the Baptist operating in the spirit of Elijah, there's an Elisha. There's a double portion company. Remember, after Elijah was suicidal, he laid under a juniper tree and wanted to die after a great victory. And God had to send angels with bread and water from heaven just to get him to get up. The wind of get up. Come on. And so, listen, Elijah was a man just like us, James says. He got to a point where he didn't want to get up. And God sent angels with bread and water to get him up. And that's what we were doing here. And so, but then God tells him when he gets to Mount Sinai to mantle Elisha. And he goes and finds Elisha, and Elisha is plowing with 12 yoke of oxen. And he's on the 12th pair, like 12/12. And what does Elisha do? He sacrifices his harvest equipment because he's about to walk in a new season. Oh, that's a good word. He sacrifices his harvest equipment because he's about to be taken into a supernatural harvest. And Elisha had to follow Elijah all the way around and out into the wilderness. And he says, what can I do for you? He says, I want a double portion of your spirit. You've asked a difficult thing. But if you see me taken, Elijah said, then your requests will be granted. And think about this. If you see me taken, then your requests will be granted. And he followed him out, and the whirlwind of fire, the chariot of God came and came between them, swept them up, and the mantle fell. But do we see? Can we discern? Can we discern the past season taken? The harvest is coming in a way I don't believe any of us know. None of us know. Like Joshua told the children of Israel when they were about to go in the promised land, you've never been this way before. We've never been this way before. But it's going to happen in a supernatural way. And I believe we're in an incredible season of the restoration of all things, and he's going to start inside you. Because all I have to give is what I have. And if all I have is frustration and disappointment and discouragement and hope deferred and struggles and battle, that's all the world has. Oh, come on. So restoration, transformation of a city starts with transformed people. Listen, tonight's a night of divine exchange for you. And maybe you haven't got it yet, but it's not even about your goosebumps. It's about your hunger. It's not about, God, do something to me. It's about you pulling on a realm of the kingdom through hunger and desperation. And so I believe we will see, as Peter said, the restoration of all things. Now, by saying that, I'm not saying we're going to do it all and Jesus is going to come and he's going to high-five us. I'm not saying that at all. You can find some of my teachings online. I teach about this. That's bad theology. I'm not teaching that, and I don't have time to go into that. I feel like the Lord's led me to more focus on your heart tonight. and the hope in your heart being discouraged and broken. And I believe that's what the Lord has me focusing on tonight. But I want you to see what season it is. And I don't have time to tell you all my you can't make this up stories. But when I came back from Israel on December 18th, after writing a book on the spirit of Elijah and the restoration of all things on top of Mount Carmel, and seeking the Lord on this, we're having a global prophetic summit April 20th and 21st on top of Mount Carmel. I can give you information if you're interested, and meeting with leaders in the land, and God's breathing all over this. It's all about Elijah, my time up there. And I come home, I'm home a few days, and I go out of town with my family, and I see this big storm's coming. I'm like, well, we better go early or we're going to get caught by the storm. And so I'm getting all these news things as we finally made it to my mother-in-law's, to grandma's house, and during the holidays. And Winter Storm Elliott. And all these news flashes came up. A once-in-a-generation winter storm will impact nearly every state and cripple Christmas travel. And the Lord said, go see what Elliott means. Well, Elliott means the Lord is my God, and they believe it's the derivative from Elijah. Come on. You can't make that up. Elijah is the Lord is my God. Winter storm, Elijah. Shut the whole nation down. I was in Jerusalem on 12/12 prophesying. It's on my Facebook, the video. The winds of the spirit of Elijah moving from this gate and hitting the earth. Come on. The winds of the spirit of Elijah are hitting the hungry and hard. And it's a restoration movement. And he's going to start with bloodlines and family trees. And he's going to start with your heart and my heart. And your dreams are not dead. He's breathing a wind of resurrection. And he's resurrecting hope in his people. I know hope has been broken, but he's restoring hope. We had a little girl come up in Boise. Her name was Nadia, and she had been battling with demons, and they said, can we bring her? We're like, bring her to the house of God. And her name meant hope. Come on. And we mantled her with 2 mantles, double portion, and hope got mantled. Hope got set free from the oppression of the enemy. And I'm declaring over the remnant of Salt Lake that hope is arising. Come on. And he's putting a word of things that shall be in your mouth. And you're going to call the things that are not as they. We're no longer going to call Salt Lake what it is. We're going to call it from the eye of God what it's called to be. We're no longer going to speak over our children or grandchildren or our neighbors what's wrong with them. They already know what's wrong with them. Lord, give me a word from their scroll. Give me a word that you've written from the foundation. One word from their scroll will unlock their heart. Come on. That we're going to activate their destiny with the voice of the Lord. And the Lord brought us here, I believe, to commission us in that. So if the sound will come back, I don't really want to move past that. You know, the Lord always starts. If you want to know what time it is, look at Israel. Even when Jesus is about to be taken up, they're like, are you going to restore Israel at this time? It was all about, Lord, are you going to do what they said you were going to do? Are you going to conquer Rome? And he says, you're about to get a baptism of fire is what it's all about right now. It's not about who's the president. It's not about who's in that seat. It's about you getting in your seat. Come on. It's not about who has a kingly earthly crown. It's about you getting your fire crown. And tarry in the city till I put a fire crown on your head. Till I coronate a movement, a royal priesthood. Sons and daughters of my kingdom come. Come on. So, Lord, I thank you tonight. We're just going to end with prayer and seeking the Lord. I'm not sure, I could preach you until Jesus comes. I just don't want to do that tonight. I just feel like the Lord, my heart is moved for your heart. My heart's moved for, I know it's not been easy. And I'm just asking the Lord to do something so supernatural on the inside of you that you could write this day in your journal, that this became the day of a great exchange. We've prayed much already, and I'm not sure how to close.